With a bit of time and a lot of patience, anything is possible.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, TheQuackingSaffa here, and today I'm bringing you it's been in the works for a long time, but my 0.3 Rise of the Abyssal Blood Mage guide. Now, I know this has been a long time coming. I know a lot of people have been waiting for it. Unfortunately, I've had some things happen in my life that has meant that all my videos have been on hold. I know that there are a lot of people waiting for part 2 on the previous video, and I will get to that. But unfortunately, real life comes first, and those responsibilities. But anyway, let's get about that and get into it. So, I know I said in one of my very first videos about this league, when I was talking about it, I said I was going to do a Blood Mage. And I did. It was my league starter. I started it the wrong way. I had to go back and create a new one and start it the right way, and ended up with this. This is my level 96 Blood Mage. She does currently 894,000 DPS. We go look at it, it's 352,332 per use, and then if I cold infuse it, it does over 1 million per use. And there is much more I can do with the right gear. It just becomes a lot more expensive. It's not something I really have the currency to do now, or might not in the near future. But I'm working on a lot of things all at once, which is why all of my currency is kind of going all over the place. That's just how it is when you're enjoying yourself, creating builds and things like that. My Blood Mage started off as a mana Blood Mage. Just as I got into endgame, everything became mana. I got the spirit I needed for cast on critical. Got my crit chance high as possible with jewels, made some jewels myself, bought some jewels, found a well of the part of the well diamond. Managed to get some amazing lightning damage on that with lightning hits to be lucky. And that's how I played for a very long time. I did most of the content that way. In fact, I did all of the content that way. And then I got Atalui's Bloodletting, which I'll talk about in a second, and turned her into a life tap witch. So I had no mana. I was using a life tap in every skill, and she just got stronger from there. And then I turned into... I had the Mask of the Sanguimancer. Which meant I really had no mana. Didn't have to have life tap in any of my skills, which meant I could put triple arc in cast and critical and things like that. Those are on my mobalytics, which I will link here in the description. And those are free for anybody to go and have a look at, use, and enjoy. The high mana is probably the budget version, and then it kind of just gets more expensive from there, as things do when you go along. I love that little griffin pet. So where I am at the moment is I have 6,705 life, 186 energy shield, And all of my skills cost life again. I have mana, but I don't use it for anything other than digital power, which doesn't really use mana anyway. I am fully a life stacking build. As you can see by my tree here, I have very little in nodes, anything other than really life, strength, and int. And I've taken as many jewel slots as I can along the way, just to kind of help me out here with some more damage. And then I've just kind of gone out of all these damage nodes, all of these spell damage nodes, and just gone into kind of strength everywhere. And that's kind of where what this is taking me to. The way she works is all about her life regeneration. As you can see, I'm casting spells, and as I cast spells, it gets to a point where it doesn't really matter. And wrong one. I'm regenerating 14,000 life a second, and I only have 6,705. So she is really, really tanky. There's not a lot that can kill her, apart from the very, very bad timing. One shot, maybe every 25 maps. Okay, that's enough talking about that. Let's get into the gear. All right, is the gear all the gear that makes this possible. So I have here my wand, which is the wand I've been using for a while. I crafted this wand. I'm very proud of this wand. I love this wand. It gives me cast speed, critical hit chance for spells, 30% damage extra cold, 28% of damage is extra lightning damage, 5 to all of lightning skills, and 88% increased spell damage with spells that cost life. Which is amazing for us because, well, all our spells cost life. Now, as you can see, there is only one T3 in that, and that is cast speed. And that is because I used a greater exalted orb, but not a perfect, because they are expensive. So there's the one, pretty basic. Now, instead of using a normal focus with +3 to skills, we're using the Wrathpith Globe. And this is because, although your non-challenging spells cost additional life, depending on which one you get, could be 6, could be 4, you get increased critical hit chance per 100 maximum life. Now, we have 6,705 life, so that takes care of most of our critical hit chance problems. And we do 10% increased damage per 100 maximum life. Again, we have 6,705 life. You can get better, but those are going for upwards of 50 divines. I'm not willing to spend that. I bought this one way back when for 2 divines, and it's done me just fine. It's not been an issue for me. You can get better ones. I recommend that if you can afford it, you get the better ones. It frees up extra nodes on your passive tree to do even more damage. Then we have Calm's Heart Conqueror Plate. Now this is where I struggled. I didn't want to lose cast on critical. And I was looking at it the wrong way, because cast on critical, although is amazing, we love cast on critical, it's helped me so much. If you have extra life with this build, you do extra damage. That is the thing. That is the whole thing that brings in the Wrathpith. The more life you have, the more damage you're going to do. And so I managed to find one for about 3 divines, with 1,500 to maximum life, and it had 0 spirit. Obviously, it takes away your spirit, so cast on critical does no longer works, which means you can either slot arc in somewhere and use it yourself, or just do what I did and get rid of it completely. You don't need it. It doesn't matter. You really don't need it. We're still using its series acuity with the 50% increased critical hit chance, and then leech from critical hits is instant, which is fantastic again, because we are trying to leech as much life, do as much life regeneration, and that's what makes this build really tanky, is our life regen. Now, for the rings, I did change them out a bit. Instead of going 2 breach rings, I went 1 breach ring with life and increased lightning damage. I didn't need the lightning resistance, and I'll tell you why in a second, but I wanted that extra strength there. The dexterity was just a bonus. It meant I could take it out of my tree and stack strength. And then we're using the Seed of Cataclysm. Now, I really like this ring for 2 reasons. One, it gives you a little bit of chaos resistance, which is always good, always helpful. although in this build, not so much. But it gives you, and it can give you, if it rolls high enough, a really high increased critical hit chance and increased critical spell damage bonus. This is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve 100% critical hit chance, and we're trying to achieve as much critical damage bonus as possible. And with all that life and the extra damage you get from the Wrathbirth, it becomes fantastic. You clear things insanely. And moving on to the Helm, which is the Veil of the Night Martyr Crown. Now this is where your resistances don't matter. You get 50% increased maximum life, 12 to all attributes. Your light radius becomes nothing, but you have no elemental resistances. Now you think, oh my word, no elemental resistances, we're weak to everything. Not really. With the life regen that we do, and the life regen that we're able to do, it doesn't really matter. You don't feel it. I guarantee you it's not going to make much of a difference. It also means that any maps with negative resistances on them, any elemental weakness that you run into on your maps, it doesn't do anything to us. It makes no difference. You can't go below no resistances. Okay, so the belt, the only reason I have this belt is for the armor, the life, and the flask recovery applied instantly. That's why I have this, and the reduced flask charges used. Because if you're casting like this and you're trying to get your regen up, you are going to have to use your life flask once or twice to help that just come along quicker. See? Well, you don't use much of it because of this belt anyway. And then for my boots, I haven't corrupted them yet because I'm very, very scared to do so. I want to get a better pair of boots first and then corrupt these, see if I can sell them. I have ones with 507 armor. Again, the resistances don't matter, but the stun threshold's good. The max life is good. The armor's good. The movement speed is not the best. I could get a 35%, but then again, those are very expensive and very difficult to find. I've tried. And then I also have that 100% increased effect of socketed items. Now, I have a 6% reduced movement speed penalty from using skills while moving, socketed in there, and with that 100% increased effect of socketed items, that becomes 12%. And that's actually really, really useful because I literally hold down right click as I'm moving around the map to cast Spark. And the reason I don't have Spark on my left click is because I end up picking up random gear as I'm going around. So I find it useful to have Orb of Storms on left click just to use when I need to, and then Spark on right click so I'm not picking up random gear as I go along. For your charms, I have the Silver Charm, so I'm unaffected by slows. I have the Thawing Charm, which gives me immunity to freezing, because that can become quite annoying, especially when you're opening a strongbox. And then I have a Gold Charm. I would love the unique, but they're really, really expensive. So the Gold Charm that I have here does just fine. I have noticed that it has helped me pick up better loot during the map. And then on weapon set 2, I have the Burden of Shadows Charming Staff. It doesn't really do much great, like anything fantastic, but it does grant me level 20 Sigil of Power, which is good for me. It helps me for that extra damage boost when I need it, if I need it. Most of the time I don't. One last thing is the amulet. The Stellar Amulet gives me 6 to all attributes, 8% increased spell damage, gives me 88 to life, which is not as high as I want it to be, but I'll deal with it. And it gives me 3 to level of all spell skills. I like the 3 to level all spell skills. I don't use the Choir of the Storms anymore because I do that much damage. I don't really need it. But 3 to level of all spell skills boosts my damage way above anything else. And I really enjoy that. And so I just crafted myself a nice 3 to level of all spell skills and kind of messed up on the life, but that is what it is. The more budget versions I have are still amazing. They're still fantastic. They clear the game. It does all the content in the game just fine. You'll be killing Zesht, King of the Mist, Arbiter, all those things perfectly fine, but this just makes things so much more fun. Now let's talk about the skills. Let's get into the skills and exactly what I've got going on here. I have played around with a lot of supports, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't use Galvanic Field at all. Sigil of Power, I have as follows. I have Rapid Casting, to cast quicker, Prolonged Duration, so that my Sigil of Power is down for longer, Deliberation, just for more damage, because you don't really move around when you're using Sigil of Power, so the 30% more movement speed penalty doesn't really matter, but it does give us 20% more damage. Magnified Area, so that my Sigil of Power circle is bigger, And second wind 3 just means that I can put Sigil of Power down twice and has 40% less cooldown recovery rate, which is great in deliriums when you have a particularly long round when you get to wave 13 and 14 and you need to put Sigil of Power down twice. That just allows us to do that, and it works very well. Spark, Atalui's Bloodletting. And this is skill, mana costs converted to life costs, so you don't need life tap in it as well. And supported skills gain 2% of damage as extra physical damage per 10 life cost. Now it costs a lot of life to cast our skills, but we get a lot of life regeneration, so this gives us a lot of damage. And you'll see as if I take that out, that DPS change is insane. It is insane. In there as well, we have Projectile Acceleration 3, increases and reductions to projectile speed also apply to projectile damage with supported skills. Supported skills have 40% more projectile speed, just means we cast quicker. The projectiles go quicker. If we take that out, we'll lose DPS. We'll lose 120,000 at least. Zenith 2. Now this is one that I found actually by looking at another YouTuber. And I will say that I'm very honest. I did a lot of research on this build. Although a lot of it is my own ideas, I did get some ideas from everybody else, as you do. And they had Zenith in a life tap skill. And I was wondering what was happening there. And then I went up and I looked at Zenith, and your 25% of support skill costs are recouped as mana, which we don't care about because we don't use mana anyway. But your supported spells deal 30% more damage while you're above 90% of your maximum mana. And considering we don't ever use mana, that is a perfect way to get free damage. Then we have Heft, and the reason I put Heft in there is because of Atalui's Bloodletting, because you get damage as extra physical damage per 10 life cost, and this gives you 30% more maximum physical hit damage, which again, take this out and we lose all that damage right there. So it is fantastic. And then I just have Lightning Mastery to add level to the skill. I do have level 30 Spark, which I think is fantastic. It's the highest Spark I've ever had in any of the leagues. And the more levels you do have on your skills, the more damage that they will do. That's just the way it is. The damage scales up with the level of the gem. Next we have Orb of Storms, in which we have Overabundance 2, so that we can smack down Orb of Storms twice. Harmonic Remnants 2, which means the remnants, because I am an elemental character, putting down Orb of Storms gives me elemental infusions, which allows me to get cold infusions for a cold infused spark, which does over 1 million damage per use. And that I utilize my skill tree for, which I will show you very shortly. It creates additional remnant, and I can collect it from further away. Then I have Rapid Casting 2 because I want to get those Orb of Storms down as quick as possible. Lightning Mastery to have 1 to lightning skills, and then Life Tap because I would like it to use life instead of mana. Makes things a lot easier because I don't have a lot of mana. And then I have Frost Bomb. And Frost Bomb I only have for one reason and one reason only, is to get the cold remnants so that I can do Cold Spark. And that's when I'm just mapping and I'm getting to a map boss and I don't want to put Orb of Storms down, or I don't think I need to, or there's a particularly large pack of monsters that I want to get rid of. I throw a Frost Bomb down and that gives me a cold infused spark and everything just melts. The whole screen goes. And that's the beauty of this build. So I have Second Wind 3 because I want to be able to use it twice, and obviously that 40% less cooldown recovery rate. Short Fuse 2 because I want it to explode as soon as possible, so I get those remnants as quick as possible. Harmonic Remnants so I can have more of the remnants, and cooldown recovery 2 as well, which gives me an extra bit of. I'd be honest, I haven't tested it. I don't know if that doubles up with that or if that cancels out that. But I have it in there anyway. Like I said, I'm not looking to do damage. I'm just looking to get the remnants. Those are really all my skills. Now, what I will do is take you through the skill tree. To start off with, This is not my leveling, by any means, a leveling guide. By the way, I would not recommend doing this until you are at least level 90. I would possibly say even 92 is where I would look to make a change to this build. But once you do, you're going to take the 8% spell damage here, and then we're just going to go attributes. We're stacking life. As much life as possible. Obviously, you need int for your spells. And then I did go here for spell critical damage bonus and cast speed, because cast speed is very, very important. The more cast we do, the more damage we do. That's why my DPS is higher than my damage per use. Then we went over here and we took this strength node, because I've been playing with these to do the elemental infusions last longer. But again, I don't find that much of a difference for myself. It could be different for a lot of people, but for me, I don't see it. So I've gone up and I've taken strength and attributes. Got that dual socket because I really, really wanted it. I have that my infusion remnants that I create are always random elements, which means Orb of Storms is not just creating lightning infusions, it's creating fire infusions and cold infusions, so that I can get that all important, sometimes, cold infused spark, which does that immense amount of damage. I enjoy it. It works well for me. There may be better ways. I'm no expert. I just do this for fun. And then I went into cast speed. Again, I want as much cast speed as I can. Doesn't really matter about the mana cost skills because we don't use mana. And then we have something called Arcane Surge. Arcane Surge allows me to cast quicker. As we can see here, it grants 15% increased cast speed and 20% more mana regeneration. We're not worried about the mana regeneration. We are worried about the Arcane Surge. It just allows us to cast even quicker. When we've killed monsters, we cast quicker. And if we go into big packs, we cast quicker, which means we clear the screen quicker, which means nothing really, really touches us. And opposite, we have 10% increased life regeneration. We took all these life regeneration nodes, and we went to Sanguimantic Rituals, which give us life regeneration. And then I just took the 5% increased life regeneration here as well. And then I went down and I took all of these. 6% increased spell damage with spells that cost life. And then 25% increased life regeneration rate. And I also took the 15% increased life cost of skills and 40% increased spell damage with spells that cost life. I think these are really, really good because they also give you life regeneration and more damage. Then I went over here into cast speed. Again, I love cast speed. The quicker we cast, the more damage we do. It's fantastic. And then I wanted to go and get another jewel socket, so I went down here and I got the jewel socket. And obviously I went up here into the critical damage nodes and got desensitization. So that's the left side of the tree done. As you can see, it's not notable heavy. It's more attributes than anything, just to give us as much life as possible to allow the Wrathpith to work. We do have a dexterity node here, which I can change. I haven't seen it until now. That's a change I will be making very soon. But we went into a little bit of critical hit chance for spells, because we need it. My Wrathpith isn't the best Wrathpith, so I needed to take some critical hit chance nodes, and that's the way I did it. I went over here to get I took my Undying Hate jewel from over here because I really wanted this critical hit chance, critical spell damage bonus, sorry. And I put it over here next to Chaos Inoculation because with this, we don't have any spirits, so we don't have any meta skills, so none of this is useful for us anymore. And none of this is useful for us. Well, that was never useful for us, and we don't really need that node. So I figured that the best place to put it would be here. It does nothing, it affects nothing on our passive skill tree anyway. So you're getting the Undying Hate in here. And what this Undying Hate Timeless Jewel does, for anybody who doesn't know, is it gives you Sacrifice of Blood, which it means regenerate 1 life per second per 8 life spent in the past 8 seconds. Obviously, it's 50% more life cost of skills, which is why stacking life is very important, because for now we've got two things that make us use more life to cast skills. And then we go down here, again, just attributes, went to this jewel socket, and then I had a couple of extra points, so I just put them in critical damage bonus. There's a nice 30% critical damage bonus there. We go over to Throat Seeker, which is the 60% increased critical damage bonus, 20% reduced critical hit chance. We took all of those. This one's very important, 10% increased life regeneration rate, and then 3% increased maximum life and 10% increased life recovery rate. Very, very important. Jewel socket, obviously with the jewels we're looking for critical hit chance for spells, critical damage bonus, anything with lightning damage, spell damage, lightning penetration, anything like that would be good. Obviously we took the heartbreaking, which is the critical damage side, not the critical hit chance side. We took the unhindered. We want 20% reduced slowing potency of debuffs on you, and this one was important, the 12% reduced movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. Anybody that's ever used a spark build before knows that you become extremely slow when you start casting spark all the time. We want to completely, as much as possible, remove the reduced movement speed penalty so that we can, run around the map and cast spark with as little effect to our movement speed as possible. I'm not quite there yet, but this is the idea. Obviously, some more attributes. My Heart of the World Diamond, which was, I love this thing. Gain 10% of damage, extra lightning damage, 6% increased critical hit chance for spells, 6% increased critical spell damage bonus, but that 23% chance for lightning damage with hits to be lucky. Love that. I found it fantastic. It actually works well for me, so I've kept it and I've used it and I enjoy it. It's good. I was very lucky when I crafted that one. Coming up here to Cooked to get the 60% increased critical damage bonus, and then coming down here to your movement speed and your skill speed. This will be on Mobalytics. I will update it with this passive skill tree for everybody to see, so that you can either follow along or make something better. If you do make something better and you want to share it with me, that's fantastic. I'd love to see it. But that's what I have done thus far. And that's the tree. That's basically it. That's the build. It's very, very simple. It's 3-4 buttons. Sometimes just one button, depending on the map. With the updates that GGG are making to where every map has a map boss, this will still mount bosses. It's not going to be an issue. You should be tanky enough to do everything. The one map that I would be concerned about, a little bit more careful with, just because we do not have as much life as we can yet, is the maps with reduced recovery of life energy shield, because that will affect your life regeneration. But as you can see, we do 100% critical hit chance, we have 707% critical damage bonus, 82% speed projectile speed modifier, and we do 2.54 casts a second. It can get better, it will get better, but for now I'm very, very happy with it, and I hope you guys are happy with it too. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a like, rating, and subscribe if you want to see more of my content in the future. Now, all that's left for me to say is take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll catch you in the next one.